Thanks for tuning into my channel. I did a speech today, and the speech was titled, How Do You Handle Pain? It is based off the blog on my website, Lipstick and the Word, by the same title. So I thought I'd just give you a quick couple of points to run down what I spoke about today without going through the whole thing. I also posted like the whole speech on my website, so you can check that out too. But this is titled, How Do You Handle Pain? So the first thing I want to point out is pain can look like all sorts of things. Pain can look like a strained family relationship. It can look like an abusive past from your childhood or an abusive spouse or somebody that you dated in the past. It can be a heartbreak. It can be an illness. It could be the death of a loved one. It could just be feelings of inadequacy that you've maybe carried with you all of your life. So emotional pain, some of it's deeply rooted in childhood issues like abandonment, abuse, or neglect, and some of it is not as deeply rooted. But my point is that pain can look like anything. You can't put it in a box. The enemy wants us to think that we're totally powerless against those things that bring us pain, and that we only have a choice of responding to a particular situation the way that we always have. So, for example, if somebody hurts your feelings and your natural reaction is to just lash out and spew angry words, the enemy wants you to think that's the only way you can respond to a particular hurt. The only way that you can respond is the way that you always have. And that's a false belief, because we're human, we're not animals. We can think before we act. Sometimes it can be hard, but the beautiful part about being human is that we can always change and we can always have a new course of action. We don't have to just react like an animal. Let's see. So one of my main points is that you always have a choice in life. The enemy is the only one that tries to take away our power by disguising situations to make it seem like we don't have a choice. So I've always done it this way, or this has always happened in my family, or when somebody does this to hurt me, I react like this, and that's the only way that I can always be. That's false. You always have a choice in life. Even if you think about following Christ, we have a choice there. We can choose to obey God, or we can choose not to and suffer the consequences. So the enemy is the only one that tries to take away your power of choice. So whenever you feel like you don't have a choice in the matter, that's the enemy. You do always have a choice. So what are some ways that you think about that you do when you deal with pain? We're all familiar with people with addictions, alcohol abuse, drugs and things like that, but there are some less obvious ways that people handle their pain, like being a control freak, or eating too much, or eating too little, or worrying too much even. So just because you don't have an addiction does not mean you're not hurting in some way. God is bigger than all of our pain. No matter what you've been through, God is bigger. And it's very much a temptation to think that, oh, I'll never get past this divorce or this abuse that I suffered as a child. And yes, it is a process, but God is bigger. And we just need to remember that, and we need to keep that in mind. There's been many times when I'm fighting for my own emotional health that the pain in my heart and my soul seemed so much bigger than God. But through a process of walking with him and trusting him and entrusting my heart more and more to him in that particular area that brings me pain, I've realized that God, he's got this. He's way bigger than what you and I have gone through. You have to own the pain before you can release it. A lot of people downplay their pain, or they act like it doesn't matter or it wasn't a big deal, but underneath the surface they have all this repressed anger and these repressed emotions. The first step to healing is to admit it's there. You can't just sweep things under the rug and act like, oh, it's in the past, it's not going to follow me, it's not going to bother me anymore. You have to own the pain before you can release it. The last point I want to make is that in our society, our dating life, our careers, our weekly reality TV show fixes, things like that tend to take priority over addressing our emotional health. One would never probably say that, but in the way that we behave, we place priority on our careers. We place priority on getting married and starting a family, and all those things are important, but we need to take time to remember to address our emotional health too. So to sum up, I want to say that you have a choice in how you handle your pain, okay? You don't just have to live with it. You don't have to just react the way that you always have. You have a choice, that you are human. God gifted us with the blessing of choice. We see that all throughout the Bible. And so exercise it. And I'll leave you with a scripture. This day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life. Deuteronomy 30:19. Thank you, guys.